Welcome to the Oroville Dam and Reservoir Status Update for August 25th, 2021. Today, after looking at the water levels, we will take a look at the rain forecast for the area to see if there is any relief to the ongoing drought. The water level at the Oroville Reservoir is at an all-time record low today at 631.95 feet above mean sea level. This is an incredible 3.21 feet below last week's water level. The highest water levels recorded on February 11, 2017 at 902.57 feet. The previous record low of 645.0 feet was set on September 7, 1977. Since August 1st of this year, the water level dropped below that point. When we look at previous year's water levels, we see the Lake Oroville Reservoir is 121 feet below the water level at this same time last year. When compared to 2019, the reservoir is currently 211 feet lower. The current water level is almost 128 feet below the water level on the same date in 2017. The current capacity of the Oroville Reservoir, which is the second largest in California, is 806,025 acre-feet, which is a new record low and only 23.03% of full capacity. 1 week ago, Lake Oroville's capacity was 824,257 acre-feet. Full capacity is 3.5 million acre-feet. On August 5th, the California Department of Water Resources took the Edward Hyatt Power Plant at Lake Oroville offline due to falling lake levels. This is the first time Hyatt Power Plant has gone offline as a result of low lake levels. During normal operations, the dam can produce enough energy to power up to 800,000 homes when operating at full capacity. The amount of power the plant can generate falls as the water level declines. Once the water level of the reservoir reaches 640 feet, the power plant is no longer able to produce electricity. In this image, we see the intake structures almost completely above the water level of the reservoir. Although the power plant is shut down, the Department of Water Resources will continue to use the river valve outlet system to release some water from the base of Oroville Lake to maintain river temperature requirements and outflows to the Feather River. The warm water discharged from the power plant negatively impacts salmon spawning further down the Feather River. These cold water outflows help reduce the temperature of the water for the fall salmon spawning season. The weather forecast for the next 10 days is a continuation of hazy, smoky sunshine with no chance of rain. A trough of low pressure continues to sag over the Pacific Northwest, and it is maintaining a light to moderate southwest breeze over the region. Daytime highs will remain below average, ranging from near 80 in the mountains to the lower 90s in the valley. That's all for today's video. Thank you for watching.
California has descended deep into one of the worst droughts in its recorded history. And perhaps no single location shows more starkly how deep that really is than Lake Oroville, the state's second largest reservoir and a crucial source of water supply for the state's farm and city water users alike. Lake Oroville provided the most stunning and visible evidence of loss of water during that 5-year drought, a reporter said. It's the same now, with much of the reservoir's shockingly barren floor exposed. Adding to the effect around parts of the lake, the charred skeletons of trees burned during last summer's North Complex fires. The reporter visited the lake in April and again this week. While the lake's appearance in the spring was riveting, it's alarming now. To be able to show the difference, actually show it, I think is important because a lot of people still don't view this as anything being wrong, he said. I thought the last drought was bad, but I'm kind of fearful of what this is. Lake Oroville backs up behind Oroville Dam, 130 miles northeast of San Francisco, just at the point where the forks of the Feather River pour out of the northern Sierra foothills into the Sacramento Valley. When the reservoir is full, the surface of the lake stands at 900 feet above sea level. The last time it was near that level was a little over 2 years ago, when it reached 896 feet, or 98% of capacity. At that level, the lake is holding enough water to supply about 7 million average California households for a year. But our reservoirs are there to be drawn down. In Oroville's case, the water behind the dam is meant to be shipped by way of the Feather and Sacramento rivers, the Delta and California Aqueduct, among other waterways, to water agencies and irrigation districts serving 27 million people and 750,000 acres of farmland. As we near the end of July 2021 and enter the driest months of the year, Lake Oroville is slowly but surely emptying out. As you've read, heard, and no doubt observed, that's because of 2 straight extremely dry winters. The reservoir now stands at 655 feet, about 27% of capacity. To make the numbers less abstract, the lake's record low, 645.11 feet, was recorded September 7, 1977, near the end of what was then the state's worst recorded drought. The reservoir has dropped a little more than a foot a day on average this month as the Department of Water Resources, which manages Oroville Dam, makes releases to meet water quality and wildlife requirements. The Water Agency has warned that it will be forced to suspend the operation of Oroville's hydroelectric power plant when the lake reaches the 630 to 640 foot level. At the current rate of decline, the lake could reach that point in the next 10 to 15 days.
suffer from diabetes type 2 or prediabetes, this might be the most important video.
Climate change. It's a hoax. It's a hoax. This is all a hoax.
Category 4 hurricane slamming into the U.S. this Sunday, making landfall just before 1 p.m. Eastern this afternoon. As an extremely dangerous Cat 4 storm, winds reaching 150 miles an hour, unleashing damaging winds, torrential rains, and a life-threatening storm surge. And as we noted, this is 16 years to the day since Katrina hit there. Tonight there is growing concern in Grand Isle, Louisiana. The images of water rushing into homes there, calls for help. Rescuers unable to reach them for some time. Authorities had warned of this. Once the hurricane hits, it is very difficult to get to anyone. In Houma, Louisiana, this roof ripped off, slamming into utility poles, taking it down. Tonight, nearly 500,000 customers without power in that state, and that number is, of course, expected to grow now. Trees uprooted and buildings ripped apart in Golden Meadow, Louisiana. And take a look in Gulfport, Mississippi tonight. The hurricane's effects far and wide. Very strong winds and rain there. And tonight, the hospitals in New Orleans unable to evacuate patients because of the COVID surge. They are sheltering in place during this storm. And the hurricane hunters tonight flying inside the eye of the storm, the clearly defined walls of the storm there, 17 miles across. And take a look at this satellite image of the swirling eye just as it was approaching land today. And Ida, at this hour, still a dangerous Category 4 hurricane, winds 130 miles per hour. We will have the newest track here. Where does this head next? This will be felt across several states as it now moves north. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z is standing by with where this is right now, where it heads, of course, in the coming hours. But first, ABC's Victor Kendo. He's live in New Orleans with late reporting tonight. Victor?
David, we have been feeling these hurricane force winds for hours now, and Hurricane Ida's strongest punch is still on the way. Watch as the rain just rips right down the street here in downtown New Orleans, and the worst is yet to come. Tonight, that monster Hurricane Ida roaring ashore, packing violent winds up to 150 miles per hour, bringing catastrophic storm surge up to 8 feet.
There is a tremendous amount of storm surge, a tremendous amount of wind, and this is tough conditions to survive.
As many as 40 people in Grand Isle defying mandatory evacuation orders. The town's chief of police telling our Matt Gutman,
got devastated areas, roofs missing, whole camps torn down, and we're out of fresh water.
I also hear that there are a number of people, maybe a few dozen, who are trying to ride out the storm in Grand Isle. Any word about their safety, how they're doing?
We've recovered most of the people through the fire department. They had a high water vehicle rescue. I think they did 7 of those. Oh, that roof is coming. Holy!
in Homa, winds ripping apart buildings, sending this roof crashing into a power pole, snapping it in half. Hurricane hunters flying into Ida's stunning 17-mile-wide eye, towering thunderstorms swirling around as the storm approached land. These images of destruction showing the power of the storm. Ida, one of the strongest hurricanes on record to hit Louisiana, the state's third major hurricane in just over a year, making landfall 16 years ago to the day that Hurricane Katrina slammed the state. New Orleans mayor warning residents,
"This is a very dangerous and a very real situation. This is the time. Heed all warnings. Ensure that you shelter in place, you hunker down."
our Ginger Z on the ground in the Crescent City.
Right behind me, the whipping winds of Hurricane Ida on Canal Street, the site of usually the Mardi Gras parade. You'd have dancers lining these streets, but now lined streets with boarded up buildings and floodgates. Not because they think the levees won't hold, but because of the flash flood threat.
Officials tonight keeping a close eye on the pumps.
There's a lot of focus on the city's upgraded levees, but there's also a lot of concern about the floodwater that could accumulate right here within the protected area. The city's pumps will no doubt be put to the test.
In New Orleans East, outside the levee protection system, storm surge inundating streets. President Biden meeting with FEMA officials late today, the agency deploying 2,400 employees to the region.
We're going to put the country's full might behind the rescue and recovery, and I mean that.
Hospitals already packed with COVID patients now sheltering in place. Emergency staff like Dr. Emily Masumi riding out the storm.
The elevator shafts are literally shaking as I'm going from unit to unit. That's all wind.
Ida knocking out power to hundreds of thousands of customers, a number officials say will grow. Utility companies warning the outages could last several weeks.
And we'll still be rebuilding.
And tonight, as our Matt Gutman was interviewing Louisiana's Lieutenant Governor, he received a call from Grand Isle shrimper Dean Blanchard, who had evacuated.
Your seafood business is gone?
It's pretty much gone. It's another Katrina, but I think it's worse than Katrina, really.
And before the storm hit, Louisiana's governor made the point that this is not the same state it was 16 years ago during Katrina. The good news so far here in New Orleans is that the improvements they've made appear to be holding. David?
And that is good news. Victor Akendo leading us off tonight. Victor, thank you. This, of course, is just the beginning of this hurricane. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, also live in New Orleans. So, Ginger, take us through this tonight. What to expect in the hours ahead?
David, Canal Street here. We've had 83 mile per hour gusts. You can see the sign right behind me, that steel one, ripping debris flying down the street, and gusts are going to get rowdier. We will see 90 to even 100 mile per hour gusts here in New Orleans, and we're not near the core of the storm. It's going over Homer right now. You can see extreme wind warnings that extend up to the west side of Lake Washington. Those tornado watches all the way to Destin and Pensacola, including Mississippi and Alabama coast up to Hattiesburg. Here's what we're going to have to deal with, and timing this out, the next couple of hours, this has been a stubborn storm. Now, the second lowest pressure to ever make landfall, Louisiana, by the way. It will stay only for a bit, but go down to 3 and 2 as it passes Baton Rouge, getting into Mississippi still as a hurricane by tomorrow morning. Look at that. You wake up Monday morning, and you're saying, wow, we're still dealing with Hurricane Ida in southwestern Mississippi with Hattiesburg getting those outside winds. Then it stays a depression. Hard hit central Tennessee from those flash floods a couple weeks ago, getting flash flood watches now. Flash flood potential all the way up to Pittsburgh as it hits a stationary front. David, this is a storm we're going to be talking about through the midweek, and unfortunately, throughout history.
All right, Ginger Z, you and the team stay safe. I know those wind gusts are very dangerous, so get back under cover. We do appreciate it.
Now at 11.
Look at that tornado!
Already caused as the storm rages on.
And we thank you for staying with us tonight as we bring you the latest updates on this truly historic storm. I'm Natalie Pasquarella. Just about an hour ago, Governor Murphy declared a state of emergency in the state of New Jersey. This is in response to the intense flooding that's now to blame for at least one death. Let's get to the video. Dozens of people have already been rescued from roads that remain impassable tonight as the remnants of Ida continue to hammer our region. Let's toss it over to Storm Team 4's Dave Price to start us out.
All right, we begin right now with what you need to know. And at 11:15, that is when a tornado warning will expire. It is in place for Suffolk County, including East Northport, Huntington, and Kings Park. If you are in this area, now is the time to preventatively take cover. Head to an interior section of your home. If you are in a mobile home, that is not the place to be right now. Go into a fortified building. This all as the energy from the storm system begins to work its way east. We also have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect as we work our way through sections of Suffolk County and in through sections of Fairfield County as well. The wider picture shows just how significant this storm is. Not much has changed over the last several hours, except this most recently, and that is the heaviest rains are beginning to push eastward. So if you're in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, into Queens, Nassau County, or Suffolk County, you are probably going to see the heavier, more severe weather over the next several hours. But still, the damage is done. Significant rains, historic rains for the tri-state area. Just how much rain in how little time? Matt's got more on that. Matt?
Yeah, Dave, some of these numbers would be impressive for a month, but Carteret, New Jersey has had over 8.5 inches of rain in the last 6 hours. Staten Island now over 8 inches of rain, approaching 8 inches in Harrison. Central Park now up over 6 inches of rain. And some of these radar estimated rainfall totals are closer to a foot, 8 to 12 inches of rain in that deep purple band stretching through New Jersey. And as you would expect, that has led to a ton of flash flooding. Some of the more alarming reports, this one coming in out of Staten Island, the West Shore Expressway, had people standing on roofs of cars waiting to be rescued. Numerous water rescues ongoing up in parts of Bergen County, and people rescued in Livingston as well as their cars were stranded in floodwaters. We have seen numerous reports just like this, and we are not out of the woods just yet. We'll talk about when the rain finally clears out coming up in just a little bit, Natalie.
All right, Matt, thank you for that. We'll talk to you real soon here. Now, in addition to the flooding, Ida spawned multiple tornadoes that tore through the Northeast, at least 2 of them in New Jersey. This includes one that destroyed homes in Mullica Hill, that's Gloucester County, and that is where we have News 4's Brian Thompson live. Brian, that video that I saw, some of those tornadoes, they're just incredible.
Yeah, people can't believe it. They said so on social media. We can tell you this, the police down here are saying dozens and dozens of homes were hit. A handful of them were totally destroyed. This is unprecedented for New Jersey, and we just not used to seeing things like this. But we don't know all the damage yet. We don't know if there are casualties at this point. We do know this, though. In Hopewell Township in Mercer County, there was a report of a police officer who was a casualty, who'd been swept away by the waters. Good news, I just got the info from the state PBA president. That officer and 2 other officers there who'd been swept away by the water were found by a drone. They are safe and sound. No casualties with them, but there are reports of other casualties across the state.
Look at that tornado!
Early this evening, this monster tornado dropped out of the South Jersey sky, spotted by motorists from multiple angles, a sight rarely, if ever, seen in New Jersey, which is used to short, low-level tornadoes from time to time. And then it moved on to Mullica Hill. Tearing through this neighborhood, this was not a shingles and trees tornado. It was a Kansas tornado, ripping homes to shreds.
Just heard everything. The roof, everything collapsed, so we all jumped under the steps. And it appears like the tornado came right through here.
Mullica Hill appears to have been the start of a long journey north towards central Jersey. Reports of scattered damage and a path aimed toward New Brunswick. But this is where the worst damage appeared to be tonight. A neighborhood torn apart. Ida no longer a hurricane or even a tropical storm, but still a force to be reckoned with.
I've been cried in like 20 years, and once I seen her house totally destroyed, and I started running over there, I was thank God. Yes, they have three small children, but everybody's fine.
Elsewhere, this in Lambertville, flooding was constant, frequent, and unavoidable. This home in Lambertville, with water inside, the streets as chronicled by this homeowner, impassable, a scenario played out over and over again across the length and width of a very soggy garden state.
Just got off the phone with the mayor of Passaic, Mayor Hector Laura, telling me they believe they have one casualty, a drowning all the way up there from flash flooding. They haven't been able to get to the vehicle yet to confirm that, but he says it's looking that way. Governor Murphy saying today, over and over again now, these storms with global warming and climate change will become more frequent, more intense.
Global warming? Hold on.
They haven't been able to get to the vehicle yet to confirm that, but he says it's looking that way. Governor Murphy saying today, over and over again now, these storms with global warming and climate change will become more frequent, more intense. We're seeing it with Ida tonight. Live in Mullica Hill, Brian Thompson, News 4 New York.
More freaking
Brian,
intense.
thank you so much for that. Stay safe out there.
Oh,
we talk about that state of emergency
WBCK, you're
in
wrong.
New Jersey. Flooding reports have been pouring in tonight from all over the Garden State, including this video. Have you seen this yet from Newark Liberty? All flights in and out of the airport now suspended. All the airport's parking lots now closed. And we did get some flooding. Look at that. This is the inside of the airport. Look at that in Terminal B. So if you had planned to fly out of Newark tonight or tomorrow, you're being advised to check with your airline before you even try to get to the airport. And as we know, it's not just the airport. Flooding in New Jersey, widespread. We have confirmed one person drowned in Passaic, what Brian said, and our own Gabi Acevedo actually stuck at a standstill right now on the New Jersey Turnpike. Gabi, I understand you're joining us by phone.
That is correct, Natalie. And I have to say, I have covered plenty natural disasters and emergencies, but tonight's event ranks way up there right now. Speaking to you from 180, heading towards Patterson, where we were going to cover the emergency zone that has become that area. But unfortunately, we are not able to go through. You see the images, several first responders. I have seen them carrying dinghies, rescuing drivers from peril. This torrential rain, Natalie, picked up fast and got people commuting. And you can see those images just before the exit towards Saddlebrook. Cars stuck at the exit, nowhere to go. Flash flooding picked up really fast, and that's the main concern right now. But the thing is that you can't really move. So if anyone is thinking out there, Natalie, to go outside, to wander around, this is definitely not the time. And if you're outside and you're listening to this broadcast, stay in position. We didn't really get to see visibility out here, Natalie. You don't know what's ahead. It's raining still very heavily, and we don't know exactly where are the areas that are safe to drive around. Like I said, I've seen several first responders carrying dinghies around in heavy trucks, trying to rescue people. So it's best to get to higher ground. And if you're in position in the highway or in the freeway, just stay put until this passes by. It's the best advice that I can give you. Right now, exercise caution, especially if you are on the road, Natalie. This is a very tough scenario here. I've seen people being very scared inside low cars because they don't know how much rain is going to keep falling here, and if it's going to become a more complicated scenario. That is the situation right now out here on the New Jersey Turnpike.
All right, Gabi, we thank you. Of course, we want you to stay safe. So tell us right now, is the water rising around you? What does it look like where you are exactly?
That is the issue. It keeps rising. People are trying to get close to the exit, close to the side of the street. Some trying to get to below bridgehead. But the water keeps picking up, and it keeps moving, kind of like a current. It seems like it's like a river going in the freeway and the highway, and you can actually see the current picking up. And I think that's the main concern. I see people going into the rooftops in their cars because they're afraid that their cars are going to start moving with the current. That is, I think, the most complicated moment for them right now, this scenario that I see in front of me, cars stuck in the water.
All right, well, Gabi, we want you to stay safe out there. We'll be sure to check back with you. But for now, we truly appreciate the live report here from the car. Stay safe out there.
Thank you.
All right, and take a second, look a little closer at this video. All subway service is now suspended due to the rain. This is a new video. The heavy rain flooding the subways. It happened at the One Train subway station. This is near 145th Street and Broadway in Hamilton Heights. You see the stairs just look like a waterfall there. We have seen similar scenes like that in the past, but this is pretty heavy. Residents in the area say the storm drains at the subway entrance are blocked. That causes the station to flood, of course. Now, the MTA's customer chief says that at this time, there's very limited train service, and you should not be traveling on the subway. For the first time in its history, the National Weather Service in Upton, New York, has issued a flash flood emergency. It's historic. It covers New York City, Nassau County, Westchester County. That's where News 4's Adam Harding is continuing our team coverage right now.
Well, the flooding here in Westchester County certainly starting to pick up very quickly. Right behind me here on Fenimore and Bishop. In the last few hours, we've just watched this entire road get drenched with rain now for several hours, and it has been coming down. Frankly, I don't know if I've ever seen this much rain all at one time. There looks to be several inches, close to a foot, if not more, of water just right by this underpass. We saw a man walk through this underpass trying to get to his car. It looked like the water was near his waist. You can see off in the distance there are some cars that are about halfway submerged right now. Looks like some people were trapped inside.
A flash flooding siege in the Northeast. States of emergency in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Multiple deaths reported as the remnants of Ida merged with the front to produce chaos. For the first time in recorded history, the National Weather Service issuing a flash flood emergency for all 5 boroughs of New York City. More than 7 inches of rain in just a few hours. The Western Hemisphere's busiest subway system shut down. Waterfalls pouring down station stairs, trains pulling in to find platforms submerged, people wading through waist-high water, above ground stranded cars, and water rescues everywhere.
FDNY members rescuing someone who has been trapped in that Jeep for now well over an hour.
Our New York station, WABC, right there, as a man was finally brought to safety. And in Queens, a partial building collapse, at least 2 people killed. And at Newark Airport in New Jersey, the wettest day ever recorded. Flooding taking over baggage claim terminals, hundreds of flights canceled. Passaic, New Jersey Mayor Hector Lora pleading during the storm for people to stay inside.
We have too many areas where the flooding has gotten so bad, the cars are stuck and we have bodies underwater. We are now retrieving bodies.
The same system torturing southern New Jersey and Pennsylvania earlier in the evening with at least 6 tornadoes.
Look at that tornado!
Nearly 25 homes in Mullica Hill, a total loss. Others shredded.
See branches start to get carried by the wind past my house. The chair on our front porch got flipped.
Yeah, it's global warming.
And it was nuts.
In Horsham, Pennsylvania, the storm uprooting trees, tipping semis, and in Allegheny County, 41 people, mostly students, in this bus rescued. Attributing the frequency of these extreme rainfall events to human-caused climate change.
In reality, I gotta play that again. Once the 100-year
caused climate change.
In reality,
attributing the frequency of these extreme rainfall events to human-caused climate change.
In reality, what was once the 100-year flood, the flood that had about a 1% chance of happening any given year, isn't the 100-year flood anymore.
And listen to this. You have to see this video again from 6 ABC in Philadelphia. Over the Schuylkill River, just because the rain has pulled away does not mean that the flooding is going to stop. That river expected to hit a record high in the next 48 hours. We will see more flooding, especially along rivers here in the Northeast. We had more than 8 inches of rain widespread happen in just 2 to 3 hours. Y'all, that is called flash flooding. It is receding now quickly behind me as we speak, but unfortunately behind it we will see debris. And I think the question we now will have is, how do we live sustainably? How do we make permeable roads? How do we live in this new extreme
reality?
Excellent question.
For now, we're live from Jamaica. Paisy Chang, News 4 New York.
And certainly the people there want answers as well. Paisy, thank you so much for that. Well, we want to go back to New Jersey. We want to go over New Jersey right now because Chopper 4's Kai Simonson has a bird's
Here,
eye
can
view
I,
of the massive
I'm going to
flooding
remind
nearby.
people,
You see a rescue boat
climate
underway right
change
now.
is a hoax.
Yes, absolutely.
Donald Trump says
pretty
that.
much all morning in places like
See all these
Manville and
pictures?
other
These
sections
are
of
all
New Jersey,
fake.
we've been telling you, and you can see as I come out a little bit with the camera here, this entire neighborhood is flooded. Manville, New Jersey, I would say about half
this is New
of the
Jersey.
town is now underwater. What strikes me about this event, folks, is the fact of how widespread the flooding is. Places like Manville, places like Hillsborough, Somerville, Bound Brook, New Jersey. Unfortunately, we have become to expect flooding like this from time to time here in New Jersey, and we expect lots of flooding in New Jersey from time to time in other areas. But what we're seeing here from Chopper 4 this morning is such a widespread flooding event. Places like Elizabeth, Linden, Cranford, places that we usually
Remember,
don't
it's
see
a
this
it's
level
climate
of
change
flooding
is a
happening.
hoax.
That's where we're seeing it. So again, we're seeing numerous rescues by boat. We saw a little bit earlier a rescue by a state
New
police
Jersey's under
helicopter.
3
This
feet
is
of
off
water.
the roof. We're going to give you some pictures here of some images that
4
we
feet,
recorded.
5
This
feet
is
of
on the
water.
roof of the STS tire facility. This is the corporate offices that are located not far from here in Bridgewater, New Jersey. And you can see an employee, no doubt,
6
this
feet
poor
of
guy
water?
spent the entire night in that building
7 feet
waiting
of
to be
water?
rescued. That building completely surrounded by water, and we are also hearing about further rescues like this that are happening at that building, and we'll get over there in a few more minutes. Back to the live pictures here. You can see once again a wider view of Manville, New Jersey. This entire area, we are seeing examples of this, just absolute devastation. Of course, we will continue to keep you up to date. In Chopper 4, I'm Kai Simonson. Michael, back on over to you.
Kai, just shocking live pictures there showing the extent of that flooding. But what a difference in the southern part of the state. Let's go to New Jersey. News 4 New Jersey reporter Brian Thompson. Brian, you're in Mullica Hill. You had a chance just to talk to Governor Murphy with some of the other reporters there. And in the south, it's tornado damage like in the building behind you.
Tornadoes.
Yeah, and they've never seen anything like this here. We've rarely seen anything like this in New Jersey at all.
Yeah, they've never seen anything like this ever before. This is called climate change, global warming.
Nobody can remember it anyway. We have 14 dead across the state. That was what a law enforcement source told me just a few minutes ago. The governor would not use that number. But after he finished his news conference, he went into his SUV and took a call from the president. When he came out, I was standing there. I asked him, what did the president say? He said he expects the president will expedite New Jersey's request to FEMA for a major disaster declaration. That request will go in later this afternoon, and we'll see what happens then. Now, as far as the damage here in Mullica Hill, it is substantial. Homes are destroyed, half destroyed. They'll have to be torn down. There's no question about it. The good news is there are no fatalities. The mayor tells me in one house, however, a pregnant woman, 8 months pregnant, was just inches away from death when the house collapsed on her, but she did manage to get out. So he was very thankful. No fatalities again here in Mullica Hill. And at this point, they believe that that will be the case throughout the rest of the day. Now, as for the governor himself, he admits he has never seen anything like this, and that includes homeowners.
You know, an extraordinary, sadly tragic, historic 24 hours in New Jersey. There's no other way to put it. Needless to say, look on either side of us right now and the impact of these tornadoes that touched down.
Next thing I know, I started hearing like a noise, and I saw through the smaller window that we have in the basement, kind of like a lot of wind, and I heard like a rump.
Obtained from a person in the neighborhood, and when there is audio on that video, it is chilling to hear that woman scream for dear life. There were 6 feet of water in the middle of the main avenue here in Passaic, and people could not do anything to rescue her without harming their own lives. At some point, that woman climbs to the top of her car, and then police believe she winds up in that small brook there that then feeds into the the Passaic River. Of course, the Passaic River last night was at a level that was just too much for anyone to stand up to bear. It was, of course, over flooded, and now they're going in their Zodiac boats to try to see if they can find that woman at any point in the Passaic River. Listen now from what her cousin had to say about all of this.
Her real sister find the location from Snapchat or something, so that's how they come to know, like, the location shows here. So they were here and they see the raid car was here, and then they call the cops.
Our firefighters continue investigating the whereabouts of the individuals. The family members were in City Hall. Divers will be back out into the river. Again, we continue to receive.
All right, I just played you, an hour of video where the beginning of the video was the drought in the West. Okay, there's in the upper right corner is the drought monitor map. And they're going to, the reservoirs in California and some other western states are so low, they're going to have to turn off their generators. So, you know, I'm going to bug you two fellows here, the WBCK talker guys. So that would be David Rankowitz and Tim Collins. So, yeah, look at the drought monitor map. So the worst drought in, 120 years? Or I don't know, in recorded history? And then we have the Hurricane Ida, which is one of the worst hurricanes that we've had. Category 4 came up, went all the way from Louisiana and Mississippi, and then it dropped, it ruined those areas, and then it dropped a ton of rain in New York and New Jersey, and there were tornadoes. Not only dropped a ton of rain and flooding, but then there were tornadoes on top of that. So you tell me, this is normal. This is in 1 week. We have a drought, huge drought in most of the West. That's Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, California, Montana. There's the drought map. Yeah. Which states am I missing? Utah, Idaho. So most of the West is still in drought. And then on the East Coast, we get one of the worst hurricanes ever. This is in the same time period. So you tell me, Mr. David Rankowitz Rank, there's no global warming. Look outside. It's not that hot. It's not that hot yet. And then here's the orange god Trump, the failed casino operator. Failed at 4 casinos in Atlantic City. That's a really good start for Donald after inheriting most of the business, right? So what more? Oh, and then I can have the global temperature change over the last. This is from 1860 to I think it's all the way 2019. So 1850 to 2019. Just steadily getting warmer and warmer. Actually, it was cool in the 1800s. We were going into a cool phase. So what more can I tell you? It's all a hoax. All that flooding in New Jersey. By the way, the subways are shut down. Subways were flooded and shut down. There's still not electricity. Electricity was wiped out to like 1 million people, or on the coast in Louisiana and Mississippi, in addition to the flooding. Okay, I don't know what's happening down there. I don't know how they're going to rebuild. I don't know what you do without electricity. Oh, and then you can't do gasoline. I think you're not going to have fuel. So you two guys, yeah, you, David Rankowitz, and Tim Collins and WBCK, you've been telling us for years. Ain't no global warming. Ain't no global. Look outside. Look outside. It's not that. It's George Soros. You blame everything on George Soros. I've never seen George Soros give a speech on anything. So I don't know what is this your anti-Semitism bit. And what do we have? Okay, and the hurricane season is not over yet. We got, okay, September and October. September and October is still hurricane season. And then, guess what I didn't have time to put into this hour-long video? The wildfires. So we have a drought. So you tell me, no global warming, right? We have a drought, historic, huge drought in the West, where they're going to ration water. And then we have wildfires in the West, because everything is parched and dry. Okay? And then we have a Category 4 hurricane. That's this week. Yeah. So, I don't know if you guys got children. Yeah, Rank, you got children. Wow. You're going to have to explain this to them. Yeah. Maybe they'll come up to you and say, Dad, what about this drought monitor map? What about that? By the way, Michigan was in drought. Michigan was in drought earlier in the year. We got some rain, so now we're out of drought. I don't know. So then food prices are going to go up. Meat, I assume, is going to go up at some point. And farmers are going to go out of business. Rank and Tim Collins. Farmers are going to go out of business. Supposedly you're friendly with the farmer types, the close to the soil, the white farmers out west. They're not going to grow almonds, pistachios, alfalfa, because all those use too much water. They have no water for, hardly any water for irrigation, and they can't irrigate these trees. Well, okay, I better stop ranting.
Access Vision, your voice, your community.